All right, welcome back under the rug, people. We are here. Jay is here. I am here.
It's about to go down.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We're going to be discussing a very important topic today, and it's something that I think is suffering deeply here in the Bahamas. And I've been seeing so many examples of it that it's scary, and it's just having me just questioning whether or not the Bahamas is actually a place that I want to stay, because it seems that people are stuck in this condition. Like they don't even realize it. And this condition is okay. They say we can't hear. Let me see. Let's see what's happening.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear fine.
Hold on, let me see
So whoever says Gail and Kira, they say they can't hear.
1, 2, 3.
Can you hear now? Can you hear now? I can hear it on my phone fine, so I don't know.
I'm good. Check your volume.
Yeah, check your volume, guys. I don't know.
In,
I can hear quite fine. But yes, like I was saying, Jay, we're going to be discussing Stockholm Syndrome, right? And a lot of people may not know what that is. I don't know if you are familiar with it or if you've heard it before. But Stockholm Syndrome is, from what my understanding is when a person in an abusive situation becomes in love or begins to develop affection for the person that's abusing them, or that has, like in a case of a kidnapping, someone kidnaps a child
and they fall in love with the kidnapper,
and they tend to develop affection for their abuser or kidnapper or the person that's doing them harm.
Okay.
And I think that's what we have done in this country. You know what I mean? If you look around, we defend the very people that abuse us over and over, whether it be our parents, whether it be the politicians, whether it be past anybody, you know what I mean? People in authority, we tend to defend it and not even realize the harms that they are doing to us. What's your position on this issue, Jay? Do you feel as though we have a lot of people that are suffering from Stockholm Syndrome?
I think we do. I think, unfortunately, it is a consequence of psychological abuse and taking on tradition and having a high level of respect for tradition and position.
Yes.
Right? We're a very easygoing people. We don't like to challenge authority. We take it as it comes, and then we feel that there is going to be a day of reckoning.
Yeah.
Right? And when that day of reckoning, we shall have a retribution. And the only thing that we do is replace one for the other. We go through that vicious cycle over and over and over again. I think there's a small percentage of the populace that's waking up. But unfortunately, those individuals are being labeled for who they are now. And there's only a certain height to their rise. There's only as far as they could go. They're not going to be in positions of real change. And even if they do get in a position of change, the minute they try and make a wave, they will be removed or silenced, per se. Or they take the money and become a part of the problem.
I know just who you're describing, but
I wasn't gonna call no name.
No, I know you ain't calling it, but I mean that goes for so many people. It's not just one particular person.
Yeah,
it's a lot of people that do this, and like recently, and y'all know my plight. You know my position on, especially when it comes to children and dealing with kids. It's so disheartening, and what sparked today's show was there was a video that was shared to my timeline. And I think it was in a different Caribbean country.
Okay.
And listen to me. The lady's daughter, her daughter is taller than she is.
Okay.
And
so this is a teenager.
Yeah, essentially. I don't know exactly the age, but it's a teenager. And she had this belt, I mean, wailing on her daughter, whipping her like an animal. Like a
runaway slave?
Like a runaway slave, whipping her, slapping her in the face, doing all of this crazy stuff, right? And would you believe, because I comment and I said, why isn't this maniac in jail? Because that was clearly a case of physical abuse, I mean, to the extreme.
Right.
And would you believe,
you were attacked?
I was attacked. I was attacked for defending the child that was being whipped like a slave and slapped in the face. And guess what the mother was beating her for? I told you to stay off of Facebook. Stay off of Facebook. That's what she kept saying. I don't know what happened on Facebook, but she just kept saying, stay off of Facebook. And you know, I retired from Facebook arguing.
Yeah.
But there was somebody who was like, oh, that I get beaten, that ain't never killed me, and that don't do it. Everybody, that's what's wrong with these children now. They need to get their hip cut. And I'm like,
Okay.
They were like arguing with me for defending a child.
Right.
And that was like so disheartening in that moment, because it's not just that one thing, but you know, I've been having these discussions for a long time. I've done a whole show on it. And just to see people's persistence and wanting to keep this in place just shows me that they have now fallen in love with this form of abuse, and they've accepted it.
Yeah. And
they want to continue to pass it on down to their children.
Yeah. I know your view, and you know my view. It's a very conflicted, I guess, diverse view. I don't believe in abuse at all, right? I believe there are certain levels of discipline, and I think it takes a very emotionally mature adult to carry out discipline when it comes to corporal punishment. But unfortunately, we have a lot of individuals that have no control over their own emotions, that have a skewed view on what discipline is, that abuse children.
Yes.
I mean, taking up whatever that comes to your hand to inflict what they call discipline on a child is wrong, right? Some people get beat with cutlasses,
Man, listen, you can run down a
hoses,
list.
whatever. Yeah,
there was a I don't know if you saw it, but there was a funny video on Facebook. You know how they have like the fighting games where they have the stands?
Yeah.
And there was this dude, he said like a black mother in a video game.
Yeah.
And he had her in different, like with different weapons. One when she had a broomstick in her hand, one picture she had the belt in her hand, and another shot she had like like just a bunch of stuff from around the house. Because black people, and we know this to be true, my mother, my parents, whatever they get their hand on first, that's what you get in liquid.
And we as adults, we make jokes about it.
Yes.
Because a lot of people have to understand, comedy itself, the root of a lot of comedy comes from a lot of dark places.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean just because we can laugh at it in hindsight
that it's okay.
That is okay. You understand? The struggle still continues for a lot of innocent children that can't fight back or can't defend themselves, or people and parents, the opposite, the mother or the father who's ever doing it, feels helpless to help their child.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
But you know, comedy is like that's a coping mechanism. It's something like you don't know how to deal with a situation. So that's a way for you to kind of calm yourself or settle yourself.
Yeah.
You hear people say all the time, you know, if you don't laugh, you'll cry.
Or come to terms with whatever happened.
Exactly. So that's what it's a coping mechanism, and we do it. And I hate when it gets to that point, because it like makes it okay. Now it's funny, we joke about it. Now people make it like, oh, okay, so they're making joke. Okay, so this must be all right.
It's acceptable.
Yes.
And I think that's the message that comedy and making. It's supposed to be a layman's way of carrying a message, right? Like, you could laugh at it, but you know in your mind it's wrong, so you have to do something about it. You have to change this perception. You have to change how you think about it. That's the same thing that got me in trouble with the Daddy White situation a while ago, with the whole blackface and all that stuff. Trying to look at the comedic aspect and seeing the message in it. What's wrong with this depiction, or how these people were perceived or treated, or what's not. But you know how that ended. We as a society, we're going down this path. We could come back from it, but it'll take such a concerted effort for that massive turnaround.
Can we though?
Yes, we can.
See, because this is my thing, right? And this is what I was grappling with. Because, like I said, I've been having these discussions for years now, right? Whether it be on national radio or on this podcast, I've been having these discussions with people. And it just always seems to be so overwhelming when it comes to the amounts of people that are for and against. The ones that are for, it's like, I could be wrong, and again, just from my experience speaking with people, I would say at least about 85 to 90% of the people in this population not only support, but champion whipping and beating your children. 90, that's like, and that to me, that's insurmountable, right? I don't foresee us getting over that. And so I was in a place like after I saw that video and saw the comments and all of that stuff, I was at a place like, you know what? Maybe the Bahamas isn't a place for me to live. Because I'm in they say majority rules. And I'm in the minority on so many issues and so many issues that I'm passionate about. I'm in the minority when it comes to the beating issue, when it comes to religion, when it comes to a lot of things. I'm in the minority. Right. So I said to myself, and I came to the conclusion, maybe this place isn't for me.
Okay. Here's what I would say to that, and not being selfish because you would be taking Kaylee away from us. I would say the Bahamas is what you make it. Right? You have an awesome responsibility, and you've been doing a great job thus far raising your daughter. Right? This is your world. This is your Bahama right here. Right? So you take that charge, and you affect a change within your generation and within your reach. Whether you have you've started podcasts like this, whether later on in life that extends to some activist group for the protection of children's rights, stuff like that, right? So you affect change from your stance and what you could do. Don't worry about the masses.
Oh no, but that's the thing. And listen, I appreciate that, and that was my approach, But especially when you have kids, it really changes things, because my child is now being brainwashed by the society that believes what they believe, and they believe that you're supposed to believe what they believe or something wrong with you. And so they beat it in and force it, and it's everywhere. It's like you go to school, they beat it in. You go to your family house, they beat it in. And it's like people don't have enough respect for your beliefs to honor them. You know what I mean? They just believe in their own and their beliefs, and so they still will pound their beliefs in or say certain things, even though they know that you don't stand for it. So, I mean, I get what you mean is what you make it, but that's only to a certain degree, because only so much you could actually control. You know what I mean? So that's the difficulty that I was having, and I believe it stems from people just wanting to adhere to traditions over logic.
Right.
They hold on to the way it has been, and don't work to what it should be.
Yeah, they don't innovate because they feel there's this, I guess, African saying, if it don't broke, don't fix it. Yeah, right. It's not an African saying, but that's an old, I guess,
old proverb or whatever.
Proverb that we know.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, right? Just because it's not broken doesn't mean it can't be made better.
But that's the thing. Who says that it ain't broken?
Obviously, the people that continue to beat their children.
You mean that's
abuse,
specific,
or do anything that's outdated.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
And needs to be changed.
You mean that's specific? I got you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
I got you.
I think people. Eventually, some people are waking up to certain things, but they're not as courageous to lead. So they do it in their private life, right? But when someone champions a certain cause, and they feel that they could rally behind it, or enough people are rallying behind it, they go with that. You know what I mean? Which made, and I hate that I'm going to give this person a compliment.
Look at your white face.
But
I know you ain't got to call it name.
Yeah,
I know what you meant.
Movement.
Yes, I
that
know what you
happened.
meant.
That's why a lot of people run behind it, because they were tired of doing the same old.
But that's my question. How tired are you, though?
A lot of people are sick and tired, Greg. A lot of us, people like us, our age, the way we think, and that have access to the world, not just going on a Facebook to get off, actually take the time to travel and absorb different cultures and different ways of life. We see how the world works. We see where the world is moving. We try to evolve and migrate into that culture. Right. We have the advantage, and it's up to us to affect change. Like when I open the mic on Hot 91 every day, whether it be on the morning show or whether it be a guest on Empress's show, I try to affect change through my different, very unique point of view. And so many people come up like, how you could do this? And I actually get into conversation, and I know that they leave thinking about what I said to them. Hopefully it changes them, but at least I know that I prick their imagination and plant their seed.
Yeah.
And even though I can't get to 300,000 people, I think I've gotten
Yet.
to enough.
Yeah.
Not yet,
Yeah.
because that's the prime ministership. I look at ministers, I come for your job. But in all seriousness, I think we need to take one step at a time, affect the change that we can affect, grow our children in the image that we think they would best serve them, not us.
Right.
That would best serve them and give them a chance to see what they do.
Well, I mean, I get that. And you know the funny, and here's what's so funny about this, right? It's because the very first episode of this podcast was on brain drain.
Yeah.
And I was the person that the role you essentially playing right now. I was the person, trying to convince my cousin. And then it's like, I love this country.
Yeah.
Wonderful place. No other place that I would want to live. Trust me when I say that. No other place I would want to live.
It's a beautiful little country.
Man, it's a very beautiful country. And we have some wonderful people.
Yes, we
do. But it's just that this mentality that is so pervasive within this society, it just has me questioning whether or not that this is the country for me, because people don't think the way I do. People aren't objective, and they just want to withhold to the traditions. That's why you hear people say we need to get back to everybody want to go in reverse. Everybody want to go back to something.
Back to basics.
Back to this. We need to go back, or we need to do this again. But have you ever thought that us doing it at that time is what got us to this point?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Didn't you think it played a role in how we got here, some way, some form?
And mind you, and let me defend them, and let me be the devil's advocate. There are some good things that we used to do that we strayed away from. And
for
in
sure.
some instances,
For sure.
we need to go back to those things, but not just go back to the exact same mold. We need to make it better.
Yes.
And build on it.
And we need to advance with the times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're too stuck in the past, and a lot of people don't want to accept these things. They don't want to accept these things to change it, but the one thing that's constant is change. Things will always change, and you have to adjust to those changes. And I think that's where we have a difficulty with coping with change. We don't know how to react when we have change.
The thing what I see, and I guess I'm an optimist. Even though people think I love sour grapes all the time. I'm an optimist, right? I see that there are, because I look around all the time and I survey my surroundings. And even though I do have an escape plan, if the shit was
Jesus, you got a plan, and you're trying to tell me.
No. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a plan B or plan C situation. But my plan A, my plan B is to help build and change my little rock, right? I think I'm a big fish in this pond, and I think I can affect change. I think I could help challenge certain people to change the way they think, change the way they live, and do stuff like that. Plus, my wife is a boss over here as well.
Yeah, I see a cheerleading over there.
So it's just one of those things. So I think what we should do is start to look around and see what we could help to build up. And I see a lot of changes happening. It's small, very, very minute. However, that's a flicker, right? And it all depends on your level of frustration. For all intents and purposes, if you feel that you know what, you have better opportunities elsewhere and you can grow and you do it for you and your family.
Yeah.
But I would say there's enough potential. There's enough hope that's still here. If it was really shitty, Greg, I would tell you go. I could be real with you.
No, and I listen, and this, my thing is, it ain't like, it's not like what most people reason is, more opportunity. It's usually financial.
Right.
My thing ain't even financial so much.
It's from a cultural, social
culture and social. You know what I mean? Perspective, culturally, and I just can't like.
Canada will look good on you.
I don't know. Maybe
Selkirk.
Maybe
Selkirk, Canada will look good on you.
It's just so many aspects of our culture that I don't like. That's what really has me, really looking at the situation and really questioning it, because there's too many things that I just can't get down with. And these are things that people fight for, and they fail to see, and this is a clear case, right? Like,
really fight for, or just go with the masses on social media because that's what the hot topic is.
Well, that's a different aspect. I don't even mean from that aspect. I talking about from a foundational aspect. Like a lot of people, and I think cognitive dissonance is a serious thing in this town as well. Like, people have these conflicting ideals and views, and in order to cope, like, they just throw logic out the window to try and get these ideas to line up. It's like it doesn't make any sense. And this is when you see them defending foolishness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, people say, and this is where they try to change language and stuff, especially when it comes to beating children. They try to say spank or discipline. Like, you try to use something softer other than using what it is. Abuse.
Okay.
It's violence. You hitting a child. You ain't going to your child and saying, child, stop doing that. Your intent is to inflict pain by use of physical force.
Okay.
That is an act of violence. I don't care how much you pretty it up. I don't care what you call it, spank, whatever you want to call it.
Are we talking in the extreme cases from the clothes fits?
See, but this is what they do. They try to say, I don't mean, you go and kill them, you punch them and get weapons. No, you just spank them. If you take an object, whether it be a hand or whatever it is, if you take something and you strike somebody with the intent of causing pain, that is an act of violence.
Okay. I agree with you in theory, and this is why I say my view on discipline is changing or evolving. I grew up getting beat.
Trust me, we all did.
Yeah,
I told more Caleb than you, Jay.
Maybe.
Trust me.
Maybe.
The amount of beating I used to get as a child, listen to me, it was sick.
But because I grew up on it, doesn't mean that I'm going to perpetrate, is that the right word?
Yes.
That same level of discipline, because I think that based on what I've noticed from young kids, I think they are becoming more intellectual. So you have to treat them as such. And I think mental discipline is where it's at right now, and because they learn quickly, they learn more, and I tend to create more productive citizens.
I agree. Brian Meadows says that's a worse position to be in than financially, because you can always find ways to make money, but trying to change a whole social system of a country is exhausting. Trust me, Brian, that's what I'm going through right now. I completely agree with that statement.
J2022, man, come on, vote for me.
Gerard Ambrista says change represents the unknown. Therefore, persons don't want to risk that their normalcy.
I love that.
That's an important.
I love that.
You know what, Gerard? That's a very important point, and I think this is what in a lot of cases contributes to Stockholm syndrome. Right? They are so afraid of the change that they convince themselves that the situation, no matter how bad it may be, is probably still better than that unknown change or situation, the situation that they are not in. So they are more comfortable with an abusive situation than because the saying, you have people say this all the time, and I hate to hear
the
it.
devil you know versus the devil you don't know.
There you go.
The old African saying.
There you go.
It's better to go with the devil you know than the devil you don't know.
That is so freaking ridiculous. Why are you assuming that the other thing you don't know is automatically a devil? You understand what I'm saying?
And there's a Korean story during war where a general captured a prisoner of war, and he gave the man a choice, right? Either you die before the fire, you stay here, and you die before the firing squad tomorrow, or you walk through that door, right? And the next day, the man didn't make a decision, so he died by a firing squad. And the general's assistant, the general's assistant came to him and asked him what was on the other side of the door, and it was his freedom.
Wow, that is crazy. But it goes to show you, like, the mentality. People continue to convince themselves that this ridiculous
fear governs a lot of people.
Yes,
fear of the unknown governs a lot of people.
Yes, I agree with a lot of people, and that's the thing. Like, fear itself isn't bad. Fear itself isn't bad, but it's your reaction to fear.
So how do you discipline? It all depends on the level of your interaction with the child growing up. So if the child sees you as an authoritative figure, and they respect you, your words when you chastise them and correct them should be enough. Right?
And I like to tell people, learn your children.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how to discipline your children because I don't know them.
Yeah.
I may could give you some suggestions, but I tailor my methods of discipline according to my child's personality and what I know of her.
Yep.
I know what gets her to react in certain ways,
yes,
and so I act accordingly. And there's also this divide, like people feel as though if you don't beat, then that means you ain't doing nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We operate in extremes. Like, we have a bipolar society. We only could see the extreme ends of the spectrum. You know what I mean? And I want to address a comment that was here. Let me hit see more. Okay. Lorena Del Mundo Charez. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Please forgive me if I didn't. But listen to this. I only can read the first line first. You listening, Shah? Listen to this. And this is what we're talking about. People convince themselves that the thing that they're going through that's bad is okay. I don't think beating is abuse. Let me stop right there. That ain't the whole comment. But that's what it starts off with. But do you not see anything wrong with that? That's those few words right there. Mm-hmm. I don't think beating is abuse. You see that? People are convincing themselves that something that is terrible is okay. I don't think beating is abuse. Let me continue to read the full comment. Let's see what context, follows.
She clarifies.
Let's see what the context is. I don't think beating is abuse, but I think you can do other things like talking and taking away privileges before you resort to beating your child. You can assert your authority without hitting a child, definitely. Okay. And at least you have, and I notice it's different groupings of people on this issue, right? Mm-hmm. It's the ones like me that don't feel resorting to beating is,
right,
an option at all.
And then you have some like me. You have fences like me
who feel like in certain circumstances,
yeah,
right?
I look at the extremes of it. Mm-hmm. If someone spanks a child early on, like say, okay, no, don't do that. Like no, like just no. Greg, put out your hand. Go ahead. Put out your hand.
Sorry,
Greg. No. Put out your hand. Put out your hand. People who do this, no.
Mother flip it. That right, mate?
And leave it like that. And leave it like that. That's abuse, right? I inflicted some sort of pain on you, right?
Right.
But put your hand out there.
But you don't have my hand right now.
Put your hand out there, man. No, don't do that because I'm burn.
I didn't know that's where you go.
Right.
We'll go in.
So you stop them from doing what it is that's going to cause them harm.
Right.
You get their attention, mm-hmm. and you instruct them on why. Mm-hmm. You give them a lesson, and mm-hmm. then you teach them.
Right. Now, see, but what you did, I don't. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I finished. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, but what you did, that's different. You just pull the hand away
from a position of strength,
right, with some force, right, with some force, not to hurt the child or anything, just to, and that's to me. Fine, I get that. Yeah. Sometimes, I have to hold my child, like hold an arm like this, and you know what I mean. I get some authority or some force, but not like when it comes to any form of striking, because you setting a precedence. You are setting like in certain circumstances, it is okay to hit somebody when you want to get them to do something that you want them to do. I think this is the foundation you are setting when you do that. You know what I mean? Especially if you repeat it, and I mean they determined with it. They're gonna do it over and over and over and over until they feel it works. Mm-hmm. And I think like what Lorena first started with, where she said she don't believe beating is abuse. I think why we resort to that is because we don't want to believe mommy
abuse me,
Grammy.
Yeah,
I love these people. These people love me.
You don't want to confront the horrors of your life.
How could they?
Yeah.
How could they be No, not my mommy, not my Grammy. No way. Mm-hmm. But if I was to ask, let me ask you, Lorena, if you don't feel beating is abuse, do you feel it's okay for if you run the red light or you do something, you
say yucking your child's arm is so aggressive, don't you think?
Hey, and Lorena, you could say that may be aggressive to some people. Yeah, it may be, because like how you feel, you say you don't believe beating is abuse. But do you think when the police pull you over for not signaling, he could beat you?
No. That's against my constitutional right.
But why is it okay to do it to a child?
There's application of logic.
And this is my issue. People don't apply. And one thing I don't like is inconsistency. You know what I mean? People are so inconsistent. So they would subscribe to something over here, but the very same thing, they don't apply somewhere else. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, why is it okay for you to hit a little, and I call it straight up bullying. Use a bully.
Right.
Use a bully. Why you don't go slap the woman who you always passing out to work? That girl, why you don't like who you work with, who dash right up the street? That girl you don't like, why you don't go hit them? No, you want to go home and pick on the little child that's smaller and lighter than you. Mm-hmm. Use a bully.
Right.
Use a damn bully.
Right.
Pick on someone your own size, like they say. Go to work and go beat that person.
Joy Raming says yucking or having a firm grip is also aggressive. And while I agree with you, I yucked on Greg the way I did because I knew he could take the pressure. When you're dealing with kids, there's a measurement of your own strength. Now, in a case of an emergency, if a child is tumbling towards an open flame or something hot or something dangerous, you react with a certain level of alertness just to protect them.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So it's a difference in the moment, and it's a difference with illustration.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
And Lorena says, of course he can't, but he will beat me if I wield a weapon for sure. Well, I don't know if your children pulling knife and gun and thing on you, but I don't think there's wield weapons when you go to beat them. Do you understand? So I get what you're trying to say in a way, but I don't think it applies.
Yeah.
Because, of course, if the policeman roll up on you and you got a tool, he got to do what he got to do to protect his life and himself. I don't think parents are threatened by these kids that they beat up.
And if you are, you have a problem.
Yes. I don't think they beaten up on the threatened by them. But that's what I feel is a form of bullying. But outside of just beating children, let's talk about like people in authorities, politicians.
Yeah, that's our main issue right now.
How many times do you see people defending the abuse of power and just nonsensical things you see from our elected officials and other people in high authority?
Well, it's called caping, pretty much. So once you choose your side, it's almost like being a rabid fan for any sports team, right? So you're going to support or find some level of defense, like, oh, he's only a human, or they got to live too. What you think? Look at that salary dying enough. And the white man, and especially with black people, we tend to go to colonialism or slavery. He's either the white man used to do this all the time, but when a black man do it, y'all won't get up, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't make it right, all right? And if you look at it, not to say, because everybody's presumed innocent, and then proven guilty. The cases with the former PLP cabinet ministers, I saw it more, the fanfare more with Shane Gibson, who was a lot more popular than Ken Dossett. That level of fanfare, the 39 counts of bribery and extortion, that's a serious amount. Extortion and bribery is a serious crime. He had a very legitimized portfolio. He had many portfolios. He was a Minister of Labor. He was in charge of public service and in charge of NIB and the $100+ million for hurricane relief, right? And you going into support and not looking at, like, seriously, like, if this was me, if the shoe was on the other foot, I wouldn't have had these opportunities for bail, or, you know what I mean? Like, you pretty much lock me up now and throw away the key.
Well, as we learn, it's a pecking order.
Oh, yeah.
You know, as we learn. And I mean, we see so many abuses in this country, and we just sit back and take it. I mean, whether it be from this, the BPL list of persons who
Renwood Wells could pay a bill.
Who electricity can't get cut off. And speaking of Renwood Wells, I heard his statement.
His excuse? He didn't ask to be on it?
You
knew he was running up your bill.
On the list.
Go pay your bill.
I lost my job. Well, what about Grammy? You live in Baintown.
Who lost who job?
That's what he say. He lost his job as a parliamentary secretary.
No, buddy.
No, he did.
No, hold on. No.
After the LOI incident.
No. After the LOI incident, you lost your job, right? That made you only an MP, which empowered you to go and work and make some money in addition to the money
getting a salary
that you get as an MP.
But
you could have paid that bill.
I agree. But my whole thing is, you want us to feel sorry for you, but y'all don't feel sorry for the people that really struggling, that really going through it, that don't have a blue plate.
They tried cut off my light for $348. $348. I have a $650 deposit on my light.
Right. But it's just but then people, like I say, people defend the actions of certain people because we tend to develop affection for some reason for these people, because you know what it is? Just like an abusive relationship, right?
Yeah.
And we as humans, we tend to, be optimistic to try and cope with situations. Yeah. So abusive relationship. Man has punched a gal in the eye, beat her up, curse her up, or whatever. But what she gonna cling to stay in that relationship is she gonna remember that time when he take me out to this place and we had such a good time.
The romanticism.
And that time when he tell me he loved me so much and he can't live without me. We tend to hold on to the good things to justify us staying within certain situations.
So let me justify the political aspect. The PLP was a horrible administration in the last one. So you know what? They gave us majority rule and independence.
How many people do you hear say that though?
That is the go-to argument. Drop it, please.
You understand?
It's 2017.
This is what, but then they hold on to these things, and this is how they develop this affection, and they fall into this syndrome, right? Because they this is their way of coping with that situation. They don't know no other way.
Yeah.
They don't see a way out, and so they're like, well, I don't foresee things changing, so I just gotta live with this. So I might as well make the best of it somehow. And they start to tell themselves these stories as to why it's okay to be in these situations.
Yeah.
Marjorie Darville says, I will continue to love my grandkids and cut hip. They are behind when they over misbehave. When they what?
Over misbehave.
Over misbehave.
Quote unquote.
That's a new level of misbehaving. I ain't even hear about that one yet. My grandkids love and always wants to be with their nana even after a good cut behind. Well, listen, Marjorie, I can't tell you how to raise
Stockholm syndrome by definition right there.
I mean, right in that one comment. And it's blatantly obvious.
Let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Your grandmother now, do you think you've gotten better or worse when it comes to exercise and discipline?
Stop saying discipline.
All right. Use cut hip, right?
Yeah, I don't like when people use discipline.
Did you cut your
beating the
children
same.
hip any worse than you cutting your grandchildren? Did you learn your lesson? Did you ease up a little bit? Do you talk a little bit more? Has it changed? Have you grown?
Mm-hmm. Well, I let me address that comment. She said, I will continue. Okay. Again, I can't tell you how to raise your grandchildren.
Yeah.
And this is what I tell people. Listen, when y'all let me speak on this issue, I ain't telling, because they just take it, I don't tell me how to raise my children. I's a good parent, blah, blah, blah. I know. Okay, listen. I ain't trying to
doctor
tell
and lawyer.
I ain't trying to tell you how to raise your children. You could raise your children how you see fit. All I do when I have these conversations is to provide a different perspective and provide the logic. I take the emotion out, take the tradition out. Let's apply logic. Let's apply fairness.
Yeah.
Let's bring that to the conversation, right? You could agree or you could disagree. You know what I mean? That's on you. It's not my job to tell you how to raise your kids. But in that statement, there is no such thing to me as a good cut behind. That is an oxymoron. That is a direct contradiction. No such thing as
Christian cut up, man.
A good cut behind. You know what I mean? Those things don't go together.
No.
Do you, when you get beaten, you say, boy, that was good, eh?
Oh, she really wailed me.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Look at that, Rich.
Woo, I can't wait till the next
Prime
one.
land letter.
I can't wait till the next one. That was a good cut behind.
Bride to your friend, tell your mommy beat you with
Yeah,
land letter.
exactly.
She beat me with a switch.
And that's the thing, we brag. I used to get into arguments. We used to be arguing for who get beat the worst. No, but I get beat more than you. This is the kind of arguments we having.
And we wonder why society the way it is.
And listen, but you know what kills me is where they don't see the correlation between beating children and then violence and aggression as an adult.
Yeah. It's a learned behavior.
They feel as though those two things have nothing to do with each other. Like there's no connection. And it's just like common sense. How do you feel if someone was to hit you, abuse you, curse you out or whatever? How does that make you feel as a experienced adult? What do you feel?
If someone was to ever get aggressive with me, I automatically it angers you. You want to retaliate.
Yes.
So imagine a child. If you have to restrain yourself as an adult to think about the different avenues of how this thing could go down if you do retaliate and what that would mean. Imagine a child that can't think, that is defenseless because there is obviously a weight, a class, power difference. This is my mommy.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
You know what I had to do to stop getting cut up? I had to put my weight on my mother so she could get a sprain on.
Say what? You fight your mom?
I didn't fight her. I used my weight.
How old were you?
She tried to body slam me. I was like maybe 13.
What's wrong with y'all, baby?
Maybe, no.
Why she tried to body slam you?
I was being a smart hip in school.
Okay.
I wasn't applying myself because that's one of my biggest things in private school. Everybody's like, "Oh, he's so smart. He could apply himself." And my sisters was acing certain things and what's not. And I could have done it as well. I just didn't like certain things at certain points in time. It's fine. That's how kids are. But she tried to body slam me to thing, right? And that's the only way she knew. And I was the oldest child, so I was the experimental one, right? And it got.
She wanted to see how far she could take this one. Let me see what the age I could still break.
And I was like one of those little stretchy dolls type of situation. I could have taken a lot. as a kid, you know, and it got less and less with my other siblings.
Anime
So I
say
was
you
like,
was bad. That's what.
I was not a bad child. I was not a bad child, okay? But anyway, what ended up happening was she tried to pick me up. And at that point in time, I had a little weight on me. I wasn't like how I am now.
Yeah, you was bony back in the day.
But she couldn't pick me up, and she threw out some muscle in her hand. She had to wear a sling for like, I think my mom was in a sling.
You know the story?
My mom was in a sling for maybe 2 weeks.
Wow.
And I could remember that was the last time that I got a conventional cut hair.
So watch this, right? All I do is just prove where I say, it's bullying. When she see she couldn't bully her little son no more, she say, okay, I can leave him alone. See, you ain't even look at that like that.
I mean, it is what it is.
You ain't look at that like that.
I guess
as long as she felt she had the strength and the power over you to beat you, she beat you. When she realized that this boy's stronger than me now, let me leave him alone. You was a bully.
There were a few instances she tried. She was like, let me try the slap thing.
Yeah.
But when you know when you do that quick whip back reaction, like you ain't crying, you ain't hollering, you just mad and there's a rage. Yeah, that
but
calm down.
You could imagine, like, as a child getting beat, and you can't do nothing. Yes. You can't do nothing. Just taking this abuse. What you think happened up? That's a lot to deal with mentally, you know.
Yeah, it is.
To get abused and you can't retaliate in no way, shape, or form at all.
And the thing about it is, me and my mother, we have a great relationship now, right? But for years, that level of aggression from her, because I didn't understand where it was coming from. And as an adult, it took me a while to say, okay, this is what this was. Let me analyze my past and figure out what it was. And it took a while before I got to that place, and then our relationship to get.
Did you ever figure out where it came from?
Yeah, I did.
You want to share?
No, none of y'all business.
Okay. But nah, that's so. Oh man, that's
no.
so
I understood because I take the time to understand people and all this other stuff. And there's a level of forgiveness there. And I turned out great, right? I'm not going to be every child's story. Some children take that to heart. Some children hate their parents for it.
Yes.
Some children physically act out of their parents.
And a lot of people turn to bullying other students
Yep.
when they go to school
Bullying
because
other
they
students,
have to take this aggression out on somebody.
This gang culture, this high rate of
Yes.
physical violence as an outlet. You're messing up your kids.
Yes.
You're messing up your kids.
Let me go through some more. Dawn Williams says, I am late. What's the topic? I put the topic in the title, Dawn. Stockholm
Read
Syndrome.
Bahamas.
Stockholm Syndrome. What's going on, Dawn? Anime Major says, I guess she means my ma, gave me a good cut backside. Well, she, again, good.
Our technical producer number 2 wants us to bring it back to government stuff.
Who?
The white lady right there.
Oh, we can get to that. Joy Raming says, what you mean? A good cut behind means that child will think twice before doing anything out of the ordinary. Let me put up the flag. All right. Let me put up the flag because a lot of people that say this, right? Oh, I better, just so you know not to do it.
I got beaten for fixing a VCR one time, and that did not stop me from trying to fix other things.
This is what I'm saying, and this is what people don't seem to get. And listen, you may find isolated incidents where you feel as though it worked. That don't work.
They just get better at doing what it is that they want to do.
There's nothing like human.
I got beaten for going on the park and hanging with my friend Kenny and sometimes Chris, right? And they still my lifelong friends. I still found time to have fun with them.
Yes, and I told this story before. Like I used to live by the canal, and our parents, but mainly my mother, used to tell y'all don't go in that canal, don't fool with that, da. We out summertime, right? You and your boys, your neighbors, and stuff like that. Y'all having a good time. They jump in the water, they swimming. You don't think we want to fit into and swim with the boys?
Yeah.
So you know what? I know I was getting cut up.
I made peace with that.
I
and
was
jump
like,
in the
you know
water.
what? Getting cut up is a possibility, but right now, this one more important than that. I could deal with that.
Exactly.
So that whole, you beat them so they don't do it no more. How many children do you know, or how many people do you know got one beaten, and that was it? They never do nothing else again in life.
That never happens.
I don't know nobody like that in my life. So this whole notion
and
that...
if the beating was that severe, then you crossed the line and that was abuse.
Yeah, and so if this whole notion that you do it so they don't do it no more, that's a farce. That don't work. That's not true. So you could throw that one in the. Well, I'll throw that one in the garbage. You could keep it if you want to. That's up to you. So you're still a bragger. Lorena says, I don't know who she mean. Maybe you, Jay. I don't know because you put it on. I don't know. I'm not sure what she means.
Bragger?
And Nadia says, really though, body slam? Wow, yeah, that's serious, boy, Jay. I never had. Nah, they didn't try body slam. They used to use weapons.
You used to watch wrestling back in the day, but
yeah, your mom used to watch wrestling too. Yeah. Who was her favorite wrestler?
I think what's that crazy boy? Not Dustin, not Dustin. The crazy one, Kevin Sullivan.
Oh, I don't even know him like that. I come into Stone Cold and The Rock. Them
No,
days
no, no.
She was before our time.
Yeah. That's when the Bahamas used to have wrestling.
Look at his name. All right, Vigilante H Matrix.
Oh yeah.
Just off of that name alone, I want to see what they got to say.
Guy.
Vigilante H Matrix says, beating is used to induce fear as a child. When one becomes bigger, no fear and no understanding of how to resolve issues. Let me read that again. Beating is used to induce fear as a child. When one becomes bigger, no fear and no understanding of how to resolve issues. What do you think he mean by that? Break that one down for me. What do you think he mean? Because I don't think I fully understand.
Read it one more time.
I don't think I fully understand. Vigilante, if you could clarify a little more, I don't think I fully get what you're trying to say. But he says, beating is used to induce fear as a child. When one becomes bigger, no fear and no understanding of how to resolve issues. Like, it seems like some stuff missing.
Oh, I think I understand what he's trying to say.
What are you trying to say? Explain to me.
So pretty much parents use that to instill fear into children.
Got that part, right? Mm-hmm.
What that does is it puts a handicap on the development of a child. And there are certain voids that creates.
So he's almost saying, okay, after that, when the child is too big, now what?
Exactly. How do you
deal with it now?
Not only that, how do they deal with it now, but the flip side is when that child goes out in society, they don't know how to cope with and people abusing them. It's so second nature to them.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with that completely. Lorena again says, so in the case where the child hits the parent, do you see that as bullying? And in that case, is the parent justified in hitting the child back? Now, that is a great question.
What type of child are you talking about?
This is a great question.
You're talking about a child hitting you like a 4-year-old hitting on a grown woman?
You may be.
What are you talking about?
You may be surprised at my answer for this. Right? And Lorena might be surprised. And that's a wonderful question, Lorena. I'm glad you asked it. On this particular issue, what I believe, my whole philosophy is preparing my child for life.
Okay.
To succeed as best as she can in life, prepare for circumstances she may encounter, prepare her for reactions that she may encounter just for situations she's going to run into in life, right? So, if a child hit me, I can hit him back. I ain't gonna punch him in the chest or kick him in the mouth, but I hit him back because...
I'm not surprised at that answer.
Because my thing is...
You have to prepare yourself for the repercussion.
Exactly. Yeah. Do not hit people. You don't put your hands on people. Because don't you expect that you're going to put your hands on somebody and they could just be like, oh, why you do that? Oh, no, you don't do that. No, you hit somebody... You better be prepared for them to suck you back.
I feel we just created a whole new alibi. Well, he hit me first.
Well, I mean, this is my thing is, and I don't know. That's just my position.
No, but it's fair.
No, it may change.
No, it's fair. You know why it's fair, Greg? Because like you said, it prepares them for repercussions in life. You cannot put your hands on people and expect them not to fight back. Right. And that's my whole. We ain't talking about busting no one in no motor.
No, nothing ridiculous like that. For size appropriate type of hit force. Yes. Not to but then again, I sound like the said who believe in beating.
No, but this is how many children, teenagers actually, and I know some parents are in abusive relationships with their kids. Yes. Right? Because it goes back and forth from verbal or physical abuse, right? But I don't think the percentage is that high to warrant this wide mass cut hip. Good cut hip.
No, I got you.
That we're talking about. So, and this is an exception to the rule.
Yeah, I think this is one
a
of those,
life lesson.
Yeah, I think this is a very, very isolated incident. Like, this isn't a common occurrence. Yep. I don't think we have many kids here in the Bahamas hitting their children. Hitting their parents. You know what I mean? And some may feel, well, that's because I just, make sure I impose my will and beat them first. But I don't think it's too many children beating their parents. But that's my position at this time, Lorena. Like I say, that may change over time because I believe in evolution. I believe in evolving. I believe in growing. I believe if I provide with new information, someone may come to me with a different perspective, and it may make more sense. And I may say, you know what? You're right. I just go with what I feel makes the most sense at the time, what's the most logical as opposed to what has been done, the precedence that's been set. Dawn says, as a parent, my daughter get a mix of discipline. It is rare if she gets a beating, and it isn't out of anger. I see a lot of parents, though, in food stores and in general getting an excessive level of aggression that I would call abuse.
I hate to see that
too. And I told the story before, but let me address one part first. Dawn, I hear a lot of people say that like, oh, but when I beat, it's not in anger. I hear you, and I'm not saying that you are wrong, but I find it very hard to believe that if you aren't angry, that you would resort to beating. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you.
I find it hard to believe that you would beat if you aren't angry. It's hard for me to believe. Like I said, I'm not saying you're not truthful, but I just find that hard to believe. You understand? That's for me. And the other part was in like the kids in the store. I told this, man, listen, this thing hurt me, Jay. In the food store. The lady was, we had the cash register. In the trolley, she have the little baby. This baby had to been maybe 2, if that. Maybe 2. And, if you put a child in a trolley with groceries, what you think the child could do?
Go open up something?
It wasn't even open. It was just moving the stuff around.
Oh, wow.
You're still learning your cognitive skills. You're trying to touch.
Interacting with your environment.
What you could lift. You're moving things around. And the mother clearly frustrated. And this is another thing. I ain't judging the mother because, again, like we spoke about with the other show, you never know what people are going through. You know what I mean? But she was clearly frustrated. And she was like, spanking the child. Listen, you trying to test my patience today. You're so rude. So, in the Bahamas, being a normal child is considered rude.
We have no true definition for that because we don't take time to instruct kids. We don't take time to know our kids. So and like you said, you don't know what she was going through. But at the end of the day, people, why are you holding up like a baby? But anyway, people need to find a way to find healthy outlets for their emotions. And I know we have this hate relationship with psychiatrists and counselors, but we need to start.
It's a negative stigma.
We need to start to gravitate towards it because you need to get certain things off your chest,
yes.
literally,
yes.
From a healthy, objective point of view. Because one, you don't trust certain people with your business, and 2, your emotional and mental well-being is paramount to your success as a human being.
Yes, and a lot of those people, they were abused themselves and they don't know, what other way to deal with it. So that's the quick resort. And I say all the time, it's lazy. If you beat, it's lazy, and it's only because you aren't able to figure out what is causing this action and another way to correct it outside of that. So you go with what you feel is the quick fix. The beating is like the micro fix.
Okay.
But it has a macro effect and a macro negative effect.
Right.
So in the bigger, the child do this thing, you beat them, they stop doing that thing right there. But what effects are you having on them mentally by doing that?
Right.
And I don't think we take those things into consideration. Joy Raming says, that is why you learn your kids and how to deal with them. I agree, Joy. Dawn says, I got cut hip. I don't care. So he said, I got cut hip as a kid, and I am fully aware of why. I was always getting into trouble.
Don't use a bad child.
It stopped me from getting into. But what is bad child?
Here's the thing. When I say bad, I'm just being mischievous.
Yeah, I know.
But
because that's what people would say.
But in our generation, you know what? Here's the thing. This is what I accept. Our generation is done. We're not kids anymore. We know how it felt to be on that end of the stick. We should not put our kids on that end of the stick. Yes. We should be the ones to be creative. And I'm just distracted by my wife holding the pink teddy bear.
She practicing, man.
And have a stocking cap. Kelly, why you turn my wife into a Camp Road person? Please take that satin cap off her head. But we shouldn't be putting our kids on that side of the six, knowing how it feels. How powerless it feels, how it hurts us physically, mentally and emotionally.
Yes, yes.
And we have to understand the level of disdain. Because if you honestly think, and if you are honest with yourself to say you didn't have a certain level of disgruntlement or hatred towards your parent, either during and after the beating and for a long period of time before you came to terms with your own emotions and the level of forgiveness, you're lying to yourself.
Yeah, I agree. And
that's one cycle that we could put an end to by getting creative and innovative.
but I don't think people want to. That's like the
I think
sad
people
part.
want to.
I
think a lot of people are doing it privately. I think let's not allow the dummies on social media. Let's not allow the people that call
that's how you
the
when it's
radio
people
stations
you-
habitually.
It's people when you think like they got like so much sense, like people you used to look up to at
Yeah, I
some point
know.
and feel
I
like,
know. I know.
thought you were.
I know, but
That's
don't let them to sully the way you look out at our society. Yes, we have some challenges. Yes, we have some special people walking amongst us with some crazy views.
Yeah.
But I honestly feel that we have larger, like, think of it in percentage wise, right? We have 300,000 people, right? If there are 10 to 15% of that populace that are growing up kids in innovative and creative ways, we're affecting change slowly but surely. So if we're having 2 to 3 kids, by a certain point, we're going to have 90,000 adults.
When will that be?
No, but it's a process, and
That
change
because you gotta
is
understand.
a process. Change is a process.
10 to 15% having 2 and 3 children against 90 to 85% having 2 and 3 children. I mean,
But
you
we're
will even if you get to 100,000, then they up to however much,
But here's the thing,
90
Greg.
times that amount, whatever that is.
But here's the thing: the success percentage of our kids being successful, our kids being the rulers, and our kids dictating the policy and dictating cultural norms is higher than those, because we are creating. We have a copy and paste society. We move we move like sheep, so we follow the leader.
I love
and
that.
if we have better leaders, if we grow better leaders, this country will be better. It's going to take it some time. It mightn't happen in our generation. We mightn't see it, but it possibly will happen in Kaylee's.
I love your optimism. If you look at it, most of these comments, I think we could say, are doing some degree of justification for the
That's what we
abuse that they received as children. And this is what I'm saying. This is the Stockholm syndrome. I mean, all over. They've become in love with their abusers. And I know y'all don't want to believe Grammy and Mummy and all of that was abusers. And when we say this, listen, I'm not saying that your parents or grandparents or whoever it was that beat you are bad people. I'm not saying that. And they very well probably had, or definitely had, the right intent. You know what I mean? They had the right intent behind it. But they say the road to hell is paved with good intentions, though. You understand? So you got to be careful. Just because you have a good intent does not mean that there's going to be a good result. You understand?
Okay.
So I'm not saying that the people that did it to you are bad people, but let's look at why they did it. And the only thing I have to tie it to is I see it from slavery, because it looks the same. It looks the same to me, and it's the same tactics. When back in the day, they used to whip the slaves and do all kind of harsh, physically abusive, violent acts against them to instill fear in them so that they could control them and get the results that they wanted.
Yeah.
And it hurts me to see people fighting for the very things that had their ancestors and kept their ancestors enslaved. The same tactics, the same abusive tactics we are applying to our children and fighting for and defending. That's the scary part about it. And that's what gets me every time. And I mean, like I said, if you look at these comments, it's like people will always say, "Oh, well, I turned out all right." Or like Dawn said, I used to get in trouble and it stopped me from getting into trouble as an adult. Well, Dawn, I mean,
But again, you developed, and there's a certain level of mental and emotional maturity that you, and something else helped you to develop into that great model that you are now.
Thank you.
But
yes,
guess what? And
but
a lot of people
that's
don't
the
have your
cognitive
same
dissonance
situation.
right there. You have to, something has to go. The logic has to go because I have to now pick something that supports this ideal that I have. This belief that I have to select something else so that it could be in line. And his way of doing that is by saying, this is what stopped me from getting in trouble.
And Don, there are many elements that helped you to develop into a successful adult, right? If you strip away many of the opportunities that you had, the college experience, the social circle, and all of the stuff, a lot of people don't have that. So imagine what happens to them and how they look out in life and how they think. Their growth, their development, their developmental growth is stunted.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? So they're shortchanged, and look, and we have a lot more of those people that haven't fully developed but are living adult lives and are pushing this cycle.
And they like to say that nothing is wrong with them, but is that actually true? I mean, by your standards, and what we do is we have a low bar for that standard, right? Our idea of I turn out all right is I ain't lock up and I ain't in jail, and that's it. That is our bar for
Successful
us turning out all right.
Yeah.
When it comes to how we were raised, I ain't in jail and I ain't lock up. See, I turn out fine. You understand? And I never liked that. But let
Can
me
you know something I know?
maybe let me run through some of these comments before we wrap up because I think we had an hour now. Let me wrap up. Marjorie Lang-Darvel says, my one daughter was disciplined, which included spanking, the same way my parents disciplined their 8 children. All of my siblings are successful, and so is my daughter. And again, and this is my whole thing. Marjorie, listen, what I say, like I said earlier, nobody's saying all your parents bad and all of this. Nobody putting judgment on a particular person. When I speak on this topic, I judge the act itself, right? And I hear you say that, but this is, and I ain't trying to be a psychologist or trying to say I should shrink, but in my opinion, this is your way of coping. You have your parents in high regard. And so in order to justify those actions, you have to then come up with a reason for it. And your reason is, okay, this is what made us successful. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's true. You understand? Because in my opinion, y'all are successful in spite of that abuse. You understand?
Yeah.
Because you don't justify an end. You don't justify the means because of the end in every situation. Because I know a lot of successful people that were molested. Oprah Winfrey, Tyler Perry, and I mean the list probably goes on and on about a bunch of successful people that went through, I mean, the worst abuse you could probably imagine. But that doesn't mean that you should abuse your child because this person was successful.
Yeah.
That doesn't justify the act itself. Beating is a bad act. You justifying it by saying that I turned out successful does not make beating better. You understand? It's going to be a bad act regardless. So no one is saying that your parents are bad, your grandparents are bad. It's just saying that I believe that they used bad tactics with the right intentions, but bad tactics in order to raise you. And because you love them, you then justify those bad tactics because you hold them in high regard and you need it to make sense.
Right.
You understand? And that's what people do. And all kind of situations where they justify these things. All right, let me get a couple more. Joy Ramick says, that is why you learn your kid. Okay, I think I read that one already. Let me go down.
I like this one.
Go ahead.
From Anissa Wilson. I got beating and hated it. The way I see it, my grandmother did what she thought was right. I'm against beating, right? So here's the thing. Like I said, our generation is done. Our generation is gone. It happened to us. Let's look at the lesson and apply it to the now. If we hated it then,
yes,
why inflict our kids with it now?
Right. And listen, and that's what I say. Like, look at it this way. If you look at, well, I think we don't have no actual footage of slavery on a plantation. But if you look at the movies, what is it? Someone with a whip whipping somebody. The video that I saw where they opened the show with, it looked the same. Those two images look the same to me. And I cannot understand why, especially, and we, us as black peoples, we champions for cut hip. More than any other race that I'm aware of. We champion cut hip. And we were the ones that this act was used on to be enslaved for hundreds of years. I cannot understand how we continue to fight for the very thing that was used to control us and keep us oppressed, and we do that to our darling little children. Doesn't make any sense. And this is why I think we have, like you said, counseling. We have to talk these things out. I mean, we need to take the negative stigma away from psychologists and go in to see people, go into therapy, because a lot of us have mental issues from the way we were raised, and we don't realize it.
Yeah.
We tend to just go by justifying it because we don't understand how else to deal with it. So, hey, it must be a good thing. And so we develop affection for those people that did those things. And I mean, I ain't saying to not love your Grammy, because like I said, the intent was there, but the act was a bad
My
one.
Grammy never beat me.
No?
Nope.
Your mother do enough.
She was the champion to stop me.
Body slam you. It was like it was a pile driver or
No,
over the head. It was a rock
legit,
bottom.
legit.
What kind of body slam it
Like
was?
she tried-
Suplex?
Like a regular body slam.
Okay.
Like, put her hand
Uh-huh.
where my leg was, between my legs, trying to pick me up, and because I wouldn't go, because
Yeah.
she had to strain her shoulder.
Ah,
So
Lord.
yeah.
Jay break his mummy shoulder.
that's what people say, right? But I was like, at least I ain't get body slammed.
But anyway, folks, we are over time. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Listen, we ask that you please, if you don't mind, share the video if you felt like there was a good conversation. We got some good points out. Share the video. Tag your friends and the people, including the set who you know is cut people hip. Tag them in it. Make them get mad, because a lot of people, they so stuck on it, they don't even want to hear you say anything but cut him.
I know, right?
They talk about me bad. I had to leave. But what I do is I invite people to have these conversations. So I ain't gonna run on with you on Facebook. I can invite you on the show. If you come, you come. We have a good discussion.
Yep.
If you don't, you don't. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna row on Facebook no more. It don't make no sense. It's a waste of time. But the only way we're gonna get out of this Stockholm syndrome, where we continue to fall in love with our abusers and oppressors, is if we realize that we have it in the first place. And then we have to take the necessary steps to get out of it, realize what they are doing, and change it. Change is not always a bad thing. Stop saying the devil you know is better than the one you don't know.
Stop praising politicians.
Is better. Stop with these things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't be so against change, because that change could be the best thing to happen to you in your life.
To be a freedom.
It could be a freedom. It could be a liberation. But a lot of people, I guess, they're so comfortable in this state. They have, like you said,
Black society.
the man, he rather know that he is going to die to a firing squad than to go through that door what he don't know behind.
Well, he probably thought it was torture.
He probably thought it was worse, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably thought they was going to put the battery to your testicles. You know what I mean? Who knows? So this is why you embrace change. You never know. The man gone out in the firing squad when he could have had his freedom. So stop being so, adverse to change. Embrace it. It's going to happen regardless. We are evolving society. And the only way we can move forward is if we start to accept new ideas and realize when you're getting goosey. Stop getting swing. Anyhow, people, we appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully, you all learned something. I know I learned.
Right.
I learned a bit. And that was a good question by, oh boy, I forget her name from earlier. But she asked a very good question. Lorena, I think it was, asked a great question. And I had to put it out there. That was my position on that issue.
Yeah.
And I know a
yeah,
lot
that
of
was
people,
a good question.
and a lot of people may be like, but hold on. You say you don't hit children. Like I said, my philosophy is
Prepare.
I preparing my child for life, and I try to use the most applicable actions that will be best for them in life. You know what I mean? This is why my daughter's so scared of the police now. When she hear police, hold on, what? Because if you don't follow the rules, the laws, you don't listen, you will get locked up. That is a consequence.
True.
Not me getting the belt or the top drawer to whip you silly. No. You don't follow the rules, we going down to the police station. Since you can't follow the rules in here, well, you can go in there and they can put you in the cell. That's where you want to be. If you want to live by your own rules, that's what's going to happen. And that is applicable in life. Because when the police pull you over for breaking the law, they don't stick. They stick. Well, I hope they don't. They stick and start me.
That's a totally different
They ain't
topic.
supposed to. Let me put it that way. They ain't supposed to do that. But that's not something that's applicable. So I don't, go with that. But thank you again, people. Share the video. We appreciate it. And until next time, stop being hypocrites. Stop beating your children. But again, I can't tell you how to raise your children. If you want to beat them silly, that's up to you. But I advise that you stop doing it, because it only causing us to be a more violent nation. That's my opinion. Don't kill me for it. Later. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate it. As always. Let's get out here. We got to start late. Later.